As we begin, I would like to invite all of our guests to get seated and settled. Good evening and welcome to the 2021 Canterbury Honor Society ceremony. We are so grateful to be joined tonight by students, faculty, and staff, and virtually by several of our remote students, as well as parents and families. We will begin this evening's celebration with an opening prayer from Sacristan Torin Kearney.
I can take this off, right? Okay. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit, amen. O God, you who we call by many names, including Father, we humbly give you thanks and praise for our gathering today. We thank you for the support and love of our parents, our families, and our guests. We praise you for the years of learning shared here at Canterbury, for the wisdom we've acquired and the growth we've experienced through teachers, coaches, our staff, and especially important, one another. Send your blessing on us as we honor students whose curiosity, diligence, and scholarship have brought them honor and success. We know all that is good comes from you as generous gift and overwhelming sign of your love. May we learn to be as generous as you are, dear God. Inspire us, we pray, to live lives dedicated to the service of peace and holy justice, now and forever. Amen. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Welcome. The Canterbury Honor Society was founded during the 1989 academic year to advance scholarship and to foster the love of learning at Canterbury School. Students with the highest honors cumulative GPA are eligible at the end of the first semester of the 5th form year. Members must be enrolled in a rigorous academic program which includes honors and AP courses in a diverse course of study. Students must demonstrate academic integrity and consistent engagement as a positive contributor to the academic culture of the school. Tonight we recognize each 6th form Honor Society member of the class of 2021. The very fact that these 6th form students are members of the Honor Society is proof that they are excellent students, but they have all contributed to Canterbury in other ways as well. I have gathered a few statements from advisor and faculty comments that shed light on the personal and leadership qualities that give an extra dimension to the 6th formers we are recognizing tonight. At the conclusion of my individual remarks, I ask that each member come forward to receive a small token from the head of school to commemorate your membership in the Canterbury Honor Society. Please also pause to have your photo taken with Mrs. Stone. This is the fun part. We get to talk about all of you. So wait until after I talk about you. Giselle Bradshaw. From Giselle's advisor, Miss Barry Toon. In the 3 years I've had the pleasure of being her advisor, her teacher's comments are unwaveringly positive and commendable. Giselle is a joy to work with. Giselle has a great combination of internal drive and external participation. Giselle is an outstanding and bright star in our class. As I've been able to see Giselle's growth as a grounded individual and motivated student over the years we have worked together, so have several of her teachers. They have all written highly of Giselle's progress as a scholar and person over their several years of knowing her within the classroom. Giselle Bradshaw. Nicholas Capana. From Nick's advisor, Mr. Potter. Every teacher makes mention of Nick's diligence. He works hard all the time and with a smile. Mrs. Omania very aptly sums up Nick's qualities in the classroom when she says, he is a consummate intellect, curious, articulate, diligent, and disciplined. He often blows me away with his insights and observational clarity. Nick doesn't hesitate to confer with teachers to seek guidance and support. He has developed an invaluable skill that will serve him well in college. Nick Capana. Lexa Caroluzzi. From Lexa's advisor, Mrs. Daring. I see like fear when I say the advisor's name. You don't know what they're going to say. Lexa is really embracing everything Canterbury has to offer. She is identifying as more than just an athlete or scholar, but as an active leader within the community. My favorite comment was from Mr. Dannenbarger, who said, "Lexa adapts very quickly to where you set the bar, and then she clears it with room to spare. Her rigor and self-discipline are exceptional. She has really grown into a leader on campus and a role model not only for younger students, but her peer group as well." Lexa. He didn't make that up. Thomas Cho. From Thomas's advisor, Mr. Omanya. Thomas is a wonderful young man, full of promise and potential for greatness. Mr. Logan commented that Thomas listened intently in class and was selective and effective with vocalizing his thoughts. Thomas provided a certain energy around the class that was infectious. Dr. Clark noted that Thomas is a wonderful student to work with because he has a great sense of humor and very high expectations for himself as a scholar. She noted that she has really enjoyed watching him grow and seeing his analytical thinking develop. Thomas Cho. Nasai Dabbs. From Nasai's advisor, Mr. Hagan. His teachers revere him as a hardworking student with a strong intellect. Nasai's teachers compliment him on his insight, effort, and engagement in the classroom. Mrs. Mulhern notes that Nasai's strong voice and deep investment established him as a leader in the classroom from the beginning of the year. Mr. Logan shared that Nasai's consistently challenges himself and expresses himself with an authentic voice in his writing and in discussion. Mr. Kennedy echoes these sentiments and goes on to say that he sees Nasai really pushing himself to gain a deeper grasp of concepts and commends him on his work. Nasai. Catherine Delamere. From Catherine's advisor, Mrs. Armstrong. Catherine remains steadfast in her pursuit of excellence on every level of her Canterbury life. Catherine not only wants to be the very best of herself for herself, but even more importantly, she endeavors to find the best version of herself in order to serve others. She receives rave reviews from all of her teachers. When speaking of Catherine, her teachers call her fiercely brave. Mrs. Armstrong noted, "The best. I believe she is born to be a true transformational leader who will do so by the example of her willingness to change and her devotion to making the world a better place." Catherine. Annika Flick. From Annika's advisor, Miss Mandigo. She is the type of student teachers get excited about teaching. This is a sentiment upon which all of her teachers agree. Annika's natural intelligence, along with her strong work ethic, allow her to thrive in the classroom. Mrs. Omanya may have summed it up perfectly when she said, "They just don't get any better than Ani." She is deeply principled and articulate. Her approach to work is methodical and exacting. None of her teachers have any doubt that she will continue to excel. Annika Flick. Catherine Hawley, from Katie's advisor, Miss Bailey. Katie has been a very impressive student since her arrival to Canterbury's campus 3.5 years ago. It is of no surprise to me that all of her teachers have the utmost respect for her, but there is so much more to her drive. There is a love for academia and learning. Katie produces original, unique, and interesting pieces. She is indeed her own self, and she truly shows this in her work. Katie Hawley. Jessie G. From Jessie's advisor, Ms. Wallace. Jessie has taken the most challenging courses Canterbury has to offer and has excelled in each and every one of them, which is a true testament to her work ethic, determination, and grit. Additionally, she has found her voice and continues to gain confidence. Dr. Clark verbalized it best when she expressed that Jessie is a born scholar. Her written work is thoughtful and beautifully articulated, and though she is quiet during class at times, she demonstrates a clear engagement with the literature through her work. I feel lucky to work with her. This was affirmed by Mrs. Roth, who noted that Jessie is an incredible student, thorough, inquisitive, and always diligent. A theme that always pops up when teachers speak of Jessie is her willingness to exceed expectations. She challenges herself and holds herself accountable to the utmost standards. More importantly, she seems to genuinely enjoy the learning process. Jessie can't be with us tonight because she is remote, but to show our appreciation for Jessie's excellent academic work, Jessie G. Abby Kavanaugh. Abby is conscientious, hardworking, and thoughtful. Ms. Ruderman noted that Abby brings a quiet joy and humor, and she can tell Abby loves learning. Mr. New shared that Abby is the standout student in the Latin program, and that he always enjoys hearing her thoughts on the text in class discussions. Mr. Diamond added that Abby continues to prove herself to be an extraordinary, talented, and diligent student. Her written work is always thorough, thoughtful, and detailed. She is an original thinker. Abby is fully engaged with the material and is always willing to share perceptive thoughts and ideas with her fellow classmates. Abby. I'm going to bring Torrin back up here again. From Torrin's advisor, Mr. Logan. Torrin's work ethic and meticulous attention to detail are some of the many things I respect about him. What shines brightest is his heart and his desire to constantly do the right thing and follow through on that, even in the difficult times. His teachers all rave about his ability to produce such quality work on a consistent basis. He takes anything that he puts forth very seriously, and his teachers respect that. Torrin is a genuine, loyal, organized, and determined young man. When he sets his sight on a goal, he is very much willing to put in the work to bring that to fruition. Torrin. Cameron Krinsky. From Cameron's advisor, Mr. Kennedy. As a student, Cameron has always taken his work seriously and has achieved at the highest level. Academics have always been a place that Cameron works hard and is able to see tremendous success, and at no point has he allowed himself to do any less than his personal best. All of Cameron's teachers comment that he is never unwilling to engage with the material no matter the difficulty level, and that Cameron never lets a difficult topic get in the way of his drive to succeed. Across the board, Cameron's teachers note how engaged with the material he is, and while he consistently achieves at the highest level, he is also genuinely interested in learning. Cameron. Lorelei Lee Swanwick. From Lorelei's advisor, Mrs. Garcia Levine. Academically, Lorelei continues to strive for excellence. Her intellectual curiosity and academic drive are outstanding. She thrives when she's challenged to engage with complex material. Every single teacher describes Lorelei as diligent, engaged, curious, and perceptive. As Mrs. Armstrong noted, academically, athletically, artistically, and in her desire to serve others, it isn't just the what, but the how that drives Lorelei. The fact that she has a tireless attention to detail and a voracious appetite for self-improvement makes her a true leader by example. Lorelei. Euro Lee, from Euro's advisor, Mr. Richardson. Academically, all of her teachers tout praises about her work. She is extremely eager to learn and master new material. Dr. Clark noted, Euro's written work has been consistently excellent all year. She is a careful reader and insightful scholar. Euro is an energetic, engaged member of class and an enthusiastic contributor to discussion. Dr. Diamond added, with her enthusiasm and inquisitiveness, she always makes a positive contribution to the learning environment. Euro. Ella Chesney, from Ella's advisor, Mrs. Garcia Levine. She's organized, hardworking, resilient, and dedicated. Ella's work ethic continues to define her success. Her commitment to her studies and to being an engaged learner are exceptional. Whenever she's encountered challenges, she digs deep and works until she rises through it. It was Dr. Clark's comment that resonated most when she noted that Ella is a thoughtful scholar. She truly is. Ella's strength, confidence, and willingness to put herself out there inspires her peers and underscores the leader we all know her to be. Ella. Sydney Ragland, from Sydney's advisor, Miss Ritter. Courteous, friendly, and thoughtful, Sydney is an extremely genuine member of the Canterbury community. I am so impressed with how Sydney has taken on new challenges and completely made them her own. Sid's teachers all praise her exceptional effort, originality, and preparedness in class. Dr. Clark noted, there's a theme here with Dr. Clark tonight, I think. Sid is an impressive scholar. With her written work is analytical and meticulously crafted, and she also often demonstrates a sophisticated and dry sense of humor in unexpected places. A true joy to read. Sid excels in everything she puts her mind to, and having that confidence in herself makes her unstoppable. Sydney Ragland. Cassidy Rockwood, from Cassidy's advisor, Mrs. Lord. She holds such a high standard for herself, and even a momentary slip reminds her to immediately refocus all energies. Her thoroughness has come to the forefront of what many teachers notice about her as a contributing factor to her success. This is certainly an admirable quality, and one that will help her in performance. Teachers refer to her efforts as superstar-like quality, stellar, impressive, and exceptional. Cassidy ensures she asks as many questions as possible and tries to get as much as possible from the course, teacher, and any assignment. Cassidy Rockwood. Jack Rufa, from Jack's advisor, Mr. Hagan. It means a great deal to say that Jack is a student at Canterbury. He is an outstanding scholar and a young man of such high character. Jack has always been someone that the faculty sees as a leader in the community and an example of what we want our students to embody. All of Jack's teachers commend his maturity and growth in the classroom. Jack's teachers praise his intellect and enthusiasm. Some of his teachers see Jack as an engaged and impassioned member of class discussion, while others see him more as a quiet leader in the classroom. Tonight, Jack's on the lacrosse field, but to appreciate his academic efforts, Jack Rufa. Benjamin Secor, from Ben's advisor, Mr. Mathewson. Ben really has taken advantage of all the different opportunities that he could at Canterbury. Academically, Ben has continued to thrive. Ben has increased his rigor in each of his years at Canterbury and continues to raise his GPA. Mrs. Mulhern noted, he is a deep thinker who really processes our discussions and thinks about them long after our class has ended. He consistently performs near the top of the class, and I appreciated his diligence. Mr. Delorco had similar sentiments, calling Ben a rock star. He went on to say that Ben is the bedrock of energy in our class. He has excelled on all assessments, but more importantly, he has worked hard to improve his understanding of topics because of his natural curiosity. Ben Secor. Mike Shee. For Mike's advisor, Mr. Kennedy. Mike has continued to push himself to achieve at the highest level and never backs down from a challenge. Mike asked great questions and exhibited a genuine desire to expand his knowledge of topics beyond the scope of the AP syllabus. According to Mr. Dannenbarger, Mike is a mature prose stylist with an acute analytical mind. Not sure what that means, Mr. Dannenbarger. A happy combination, needless to say. Mike was at the forefront of all class discussions, especially those involving complicated grammar and mechanics. His mechanical knowledge of writing skills also helped his overall essay writing. Mike is also a remote student, but to acknowledge his accomplishments, Mike Shee. Samuel Sheppy, from Sam's advisor, Mr. New. Academically, Sam has excelled across the board. He is one of the most dedicated students with whom I've had the pleasure of working. Every one of his teachers continues to be impressed with how bright and hardworking he is. Mr. Hagan and Dr. Clark have praised Sam for his meaningful and invaluable contributions to class discussions. All of this praise and success is especially admirable considering the rigor of his course load. Dr. Clark noted specifically that it has been especially wonderful to see Sam's growth as an intellectual and as a scholar. His contributions to discussion are always illuminating. His written work, though excellent to begin with, has become progressively stronger. She has been very impressed with his scholarship and enthusiasm for the material. Sam. Sebastian Zhang. From Sebastian's advisor, Mr. Overthrow. Sebastian has had a laser focus on being successful in his classes, and his hard work has been recognized by his teachers. Each of his teachers commented on his thoroughness, hard work, motivation, and focus. Sebastian consistently engages in his classes and shows he has a willingness to learn. His focus and work ethic are steady, and he rarely wavers from the task at hand. In honors linear algebra, Mr. Roberts notes that Sebastian works hard and puts in the effort to understand new and challenging concepts. He appreciates Sebastian's energy and what he brings to class. According to Ms. Babington, Sebastian's attention to detail is second to none. Sebastian. Andrew Zhu, from Andy's advisor, Mr. Hagan. Andy's teachers all comment on his strong work. I am very proud of his determination, work ethic, and commitment to succeeding during his years at Canterbury. He builds himself up. and the school at the same time. All of his teachers have only the highest praise for his contributions to class discussion and his work. Andy is a bright and talented young man and truly deserves all his success. He really knows who he is in the Canterbury community. Andy has exemplified what we want our students to become. Andy. Kaiju, from Kyle's advisor, Mr. Omanya. Kyle challenged himself to step out of his comfort zone and showed growth in the process. Kyle is an excellent student who consistently demonstrates intellectual curiosity through his written work and contributions to discussion. Mr. Roberts for Honors Linear Algebra noted that Kyle is a great kid who he has enjoyed working with over multiple years. He has become dryly funny and is developing himself and his identity. He is a smart kid who has become less serious, in a good way, letting himself enjoy his time in class and his classmates. Kyle is remote tonight, but to honor his accomplishments, Kyle Zhu. Sandra Zhu, from Sandy's advisor, Mrs. Armstrong, and she has the best quotes, Mrs. Armstrong. Nice job. When I think of Sandy, I think of an iron fist in a velvet glove. On the surface, Sandy is kind, gentle, soft-spoken, and mild-mannered. Underneath the surface, however, she is a warrior, tackling the most difficult of academic schedules with an intellectual efficiency and ability that is mighty and impressive. Her teachers are as impressed with her as I am and hold her in very high esteem. She is, of course, a stellar student, but also brings a fantastic mix of lighthearted curiosity and dedicated focus to the class that you can tell her peers admire her for. Sandy's approach to her studies goes above and beyond mandatory academic exercises. She is truly intellectually curious and brings her lighthearted joy of learning to every facet of her education. To the class of 2021 valedictorian, Sandy Zhu. And last but not least, Charlotte Zappleton. From Charlotte's advisor, Mrs. Garcia Levine. Charlotte continues to thrive in every way. Academically, she continues to work diligently to perform at her highest level. All of her teachers note that she's focused, positive, and a mature class presence. She's made it uniquely and wonderfully a really positive and impactful year. She's been present and insightful and a true leader among her peers. Charlotte's excellence in the classroom has been noted by every one of her teachers. Across the board, they have been thrilled with her classroom participation, leadership, and productivity. Charlotte.
You ready? And now, it is my honor to introduce tonight's speaker, Mr. Dannenbarger. As you may remember, the 2020 J.P. Mandler Teaching Award was presented to the entire faculty at last year's commencement in celebration of their collective commitment to teaching during an unprecedented and particularly challenging spring. There is no one better to represent your extraordinary group of teachers, advisors, coaches, and door parents than our Dean of Faculty, Mr. Dannenbarger, and even more so as this is his final year at Canterbury before he enjoys his retirement. Mr. Dannenbarger joined the faculty in 1999, before any of you were born, and has served as the Dean of Faculty for Dean of Faculty for 6 years, following 18 years of classroom instruction, as well as 15 years as the English department chair. He has also served as a spirited basketball and tennis coach, and his role in launching Canterbury's own Chicken Keepers Club goes without saying. Who knew just how passionate one could be about eggs? Prior to working at Canterbury, Mr. Dannebarger was an English teacher at the Knox School and a lecturer and teaching fellow at his alma mater, the University of Vermont, where he earned both a bachelor's and master's degree in English. None of this should come as a surprise given Mr. Dannebarger's adulation and aptitude for the English language, including many of its lesser known and used words. Mr. Dannebarger has been an essential fixture on this campus, and we are so grateful for his dedication, his enthusiasm, and his unwavering support of Canterbury. He is the quintessential all-in colleague and a fierce proponent of hiring triple-threat faculty so that all of you have student-centered adults in your corner. Moreover, he was always willing to do whatever is asked of him to ensure that the Canterbury experience for both students and faculty is at the highest level. From driving a bus, to running the clock at a hockey or basketball game, to collecting eggs at Peckingham Palace, we can always count on Mr. Dannebarger to step in and help. It is with respect and gratitude that I welcome Mr. Dannebarger to the podium.
Thank you, Mrs. Stone. I always wanted to be quintessential at something, and perhaps this is my moment. Ladies, gentlemen, members of the Academy, it's with great pride and privilege that I accept the Nobel Prize for Literature this year. Although I thought it was long overdue, Ooh, this is embarrassing. Wrong speech. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, hey. Miss Roberts, how long do I have again? Oh, you want the abbreviated? People always ask me, just give us the short version. You're lucky I brought the short version tonight. Did I bring glasses? That's another matter. As you already know, I'm here tonight as a representative of the faculty who collectively won an award that typically goes to an individual teacher. The award, as Mrs. Stone mentioned, is titled the J.P. Mandler Award for Excellence in Teaching, and it is named for one of my mentors in the teaching profession, a man who taught at Canterbury longer than any other in the school's history, 45 years. If any of you who've had me in class like some aspect of how I have operated as a teacher, some of those attributes I learned from J.P. Mandler himself. By the time I was his colleague, he, too, taught primarily honor students, such as yourselves. In fact, he did it so well that the course he taught, AP English Literature, came to be known as APJP. This honor was more than just a euphonious rhyme or a simple eponym. Instead, it had very much to do with the way in which his honor students knew they were privy to a special version of an AP class that prepared them to take such a test by entering JP's world, and that of the literature he loved. JP taught me that teaching honors levels courses is at once an important responsibility and truly blissful. And it is the reciprocal nature of student-teacher bliss with which I'd like to frame my remarks tonight. Some of you may have heard of the famous scholar of comparative literature and mythology, Joseph Campbell. Campbell was a member of one of the earliest graduating classes of Canterbury School in 1921. And he became famous for being one of the first to note the similarities in most myths across time and cultures. The basic narrative structure he culled from looking at the human history of myths came to be known as the hero's journey. And he also wrote quite a bit about psychology and spirituality. One of his quotes that pertains to each of our journeys, the one in which we are all the one and only hero, has followed me around since I studied Campbell long before arriving myself at Canterbury. Follow your bliss, and the universe will open doors for you where there were only walls. Now, as an aside, I'd like to say that I have a feeling that Joseph Campbell is probably constantly quoted in these kinds of speeches at graduations and honor society dinners, but he's a Canterbury grad. And on top of which, he was the first ever Canterbury graduate to come back and teach at Canterbury. A long lineage that ends with our own Cam Roth, who is an alum and teacher. So from Joseph Campbell to Cam Roth, I think we have really one of the few rights to be quoting Joseph Campbell at such an event. When I saw the list of students who would be here, I was not at all surprised. There's a lot of verbal intelligence in this room tonight, and I've always felt that students with solid literacy skills, have a leg up in all the other disciplines. Having said that, I should point out that my best grades in high school came in math, and my favorite class was physics. It may surprise some of you to know that my math SAT score was 130 points higher than my verbal score. And I would argue that the process of working through math problems and science labs, though they did not necessarily make me a better interpreter of poetry or increase my vocabulary, did make me a better essay writer. Math and science classes trained my brain how to make my arguments about literature focused, linear, and logical. You might be wondering thus how I ended up with 2 English degrees, as Mrs. Stone mentioned, and teaching AP English myself. Well, I got to college and I found that I was having more fun decoding texts than math or science problems. I started to follow my bliss. The skills I learned doing the latter two, as I've suggested, helped me make the transition. This leads me to 2 points about those of you who soon will be in college. 1, the lines between the disciplines are in fact rather arbitrary. All the classes you have ever taken and all those you will take in college are about the same thing: how to describe and thus exist in the natural world and the human social world. As honor students, your crowning achievement is that you have been actively pursuing your own curiosity about the hows and whys of your own existence, and you have begun to master the multiple languages that describe it. This leads me to my second point about college. Go there without too many expectations. The one problem I have with too many of the top high school students is that they often feel compelled or are compelled to make pronouncements about what they will study in college. Here's my advice. Get there first. Take some classes, see what you think, try to enjoy them, and go from there. Your career will find you, not the other way around. I think it is entirely worthy to eventually become highly versed in one of the languages of intellectual pursuit, as I'm terming it, but I also think you should keep doing exactly what has brought you to this dinner tonight. And I quote Joseph Campbell once again on this point. If the path before you is clear, you're probably on someone else's. My path was never clear, and it still isn't. I was not an honor student. I was one of those sorts of maddening kids who did great on standardized tests but used his smarts to get B's with last-minute work. I got some A's, but I would usually balance each of those off with a few C's just to, keep things even. It was not until the last half of my undergraduate career in grad school that I started making the kinds of lists that all of you find your names on so often. A few years ago, my mother dug up one of my comment mailings from my days at Choate, and it was really fun. revelatory, and a bit embarrassing to read. The one comment I remember best started off with, "Right is really an enigma," and then went on to basically scold me for not bringing my abilities to bear in class. All the comments had some version of the enigma line in them. I must have thought being an enigma was kind of cool. Actually, come to think of it, being an enigma is kind of cool, isn't it? Hey man, I really want to hang out with that Wright kid. Really? What makes him so cool? I don't know. I can't explain it. That was an honors level joke. I have some different material for the Remedial Society dinner next week, at which Mr. Codier is the speaker, I believe. We've been working with his hand puppets. I eventually grew out of my enigma phase and went on to a quest to learn the languages of existence. And much like J.P. Mandler's, I never left school. If you've been in my classroom or know me somewhat, you know that my advocacy of being blissful informs much of who I am and how I teach. I want my classes to be about, well, everything. If my classes are successful at all, I would like to argue that this is because they operate under the principle that all learning is a source of bliss. I do not aim to create dilettantes, but I do encourage dabbling. Yes, I admit it, I'm a dabbler. And I am, if I may use an oxymoron, a professional amateur. As such, I'd like to finish my remarks by drawing on an analogy between my most commented upon hobby and the path, as I see it, to your future success and happiness. Yes, fill in the blank. Mushrooms. Thank you over there, Sammy. At some molecular level, mushrooms and other fungi have more in common with animals than with vegetables. They breathe in the oxygen and they exhale carbon dioxide. Most of the species of mushrooms have not even been definitively classed yet, just as I don't want any of you to be classed too soon before you go to college. And yet my colleges often discover that they have to move a mushroom from one genus to the other. The largest organism in the world is a mushroom, measuring approximately 2 square kilometers. I learned all this from my attending forays with my mushroom group, the Connecticut Mycological Association, or as we refer to it cutely by its acronym, COMA. Some of it I read in my subscription to the association magazine, Spores Illustrated. No joke, it's a real publication. And I read it lovingly. My greatest pleasure these days, and many days before this, is going on mushroom forays in the woods. Part of the reason is that with every step you have the possibility of discovering a patch of rare but delectable food. Who doesn't love food? If you've ever only eaten cultivated mushrooms from the store, you have no idea how tasty a mushroom can be. The excitement of finding a world-class dinner in the woods that I would otherwise be paying steep prices for at the restaurant or gourmet food store was just the start of the fun, though. Just the start of the bliss. The more time I spent in the woods tracking down the delectable members of the Fourth Kingdom, the more I learned about the members of the other 3. Certain edible mushrooms only grow near certain tree species, so I had to learn those too. I started to come across animals that don't come out of the woods too often, and which I had never seen before, and I felt compelled, sometimes for my own safety, to be able to identify them too. My endless infatuation with finding the next secret garden of $30 an ounce morel mushrooms took me to Mine Hill in Roxbury, Connecticut, where I learned about our local history as an iron ore and steel producer. By the way, in case you're wondering, there are no morels at the Mine Hill Land Trust. That is, as far as I'm telling you. But there are archaeological remains of what was once a Connecticut boomtown called Chalybes in the middle of what is now just a more or less woods. I started off an obscure food enthusiast, and ended up, unplanned but quite happily, ready to start my own show on Discovery Channel. Let your education be like a mushroom walk. Go to college with a general sense of what you like and a general sense of where to find it, and seek it with an abiding sense that everything is a source of bliss, and you will end up with a trove of intellectual nourishment that is dear and not so easy to find. Moreover, encourage your inner dabbler. This doesn't mean change majors every semester and finish college at 35, or when you've taken all the courses they offer. I hope one of you spends a lot of time in a lab and finds a cure for cancer, and another of you immerses yourself in literature long enough to write the Nobel that I never won. What it does mean is that you are sitting here right now because you were good at a lot of things, and I don't want college or a career to ruin the beauty of your multiple selves. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Danenberger. I think you set the bar a little bit high for next week's commencement remarks, so let's bring it back down, folks. To close this evening, congratulations to our Honor Society members. Well done. It is true that we are proud of you for your drive, your work ethic, passion, and impressive outcomes, but most of all, we are grateful for your contributions to the academic environment on our hilltop. You have helped build and sustain a culture of learning and curiosity, of questioning and collaboration, and above all, of persistent effort. In my experience, effort matters most. Thank you, and thanks as well to our virtual guests for joining us this evening. Good night, and those of us in the Commons, we will enjoy some dessert out on the Steer Center patio. Thank you all. Congratulations.